Bum, ba, bum, ba, 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 bum, bum, bum. Welcome back to Bjjbrick Quick. This is a quick jiu-jitsu podcast. My name is Byron. Today, quickly now, we're going to talk about my first day of Brazilian jiu-jitsu. And I'm going to go ahead and have this a subtitle, Getting My White Belt. That's a very important belt to get. Arguably the most important belt. And I would agree with that statement. Well, I was interested in jiu-jitsu, and there was a online radio show, and I believe it was on IATA, which is gone. When it went the ways of other, how stuff goes, like MySpace or any of that stuff. And the host was Eddie Goldman. And I sent him a message and saying that I enjoy his program. It was the show was No Holds Barred, and he talked about all combat sports. And I just like, man, this is a great show. I really enjoy it. There was nothing else like it. It was just boxing, and then no way to get news about MMA or jiu-jitsu. And he covered wrestling and all this stuff, and it was really fun. And I said, I'd like to do jiu-jitsu, but there's nobody that's not around. And I don't know how he knew, but he sent me the name of a person who lived in Wichita, Kansas. That's the city I was in. I said, contact this guy. He's doing jiu-jitsu in your area. He might have just found it online for me. I don't know. But I messaged that person. It was John Castillo. And he says, come on down. We're training in, these days of the week. And I made it down, I think, within the week. And this was in 2002. And I had visions of Hoyts Gracie and that sort of thing. And of course, have a younger brother, and we did a little bit of grappling and tried to figure out some moves back in the day. This was probably 3 or 4 years after all that. I was still interested in it. Get into the academy there, or the gym. It was in the back of a golf store. Like they sold golf clubs and stuff, and they had like a big open area in the back of it that they didn't use. And John Castillo had put in like a 25 by 25, that's not an accurate measurement, but around there, size of gymnastics mat. The blue mat that kind of had a carpety feel to it. And there were like 5 to 8 people probably there, probably wearing gis, I can't remember for sure. And they just started their class, and they were running laps and doing different things. And I stood up this side, and I was stretching because I didn't know any better. And John's like, you better get in here with the warm-up. So I hopped in there with the warm-up, and that's when I actually joined the class. And I participated, and we warmed up, which the warm-up was probably in excess of 30 minutes. A lot of crunches, a lot of running, and different kind of traditional style shrimp crawls and all this kind of stuff that we sometimes do today. And then we did some technique. I do not remember the first techniques I learned. And then we grappled. Thinking back, I don't know for sure who all was there. I know John was there. I'm confident that Gary, who's also on this podcast, and I've interviewed John, I'm confident Gary was there. Likely a police officer named Bob, who I still see regularly today, was there. And we rolled, and I tried to murder, the other people. I guess Gary had been there for a week or so or two before I was there, but really, my jiu-jitsu was horrible, of course. And everybody in the room knew more than me. And I was also looking back at an old picture. I was small compared to most people that were there. They were coming in at like 150 back then, maybe 145. I was on the lighter side of the grapplers, and that's okay. A lot of people, that's just how it goes. And it was rough. It was not an easy time. It was like fighting back then. The very first episode of this podcast is jiu-jitsu or rolling is not fighting. We were basically fighting. And if somebody got an inch, they didn't give it back unless you took it back, and there was no give or take. But that's how it is. That's my first day. That's getting my white belt. I look back and I think the white belts now, they don't necessarily have it easier, but I think that they learn at an accelerated rate. They have more than half a dozen people in the room with them, and the instructor there was a purple belt, and everybody else was white belts. So if you could be in a room full of upper belts and white belts versus a room with just one, purple belt, typically the more advanced people on the mat are going to help everybody get better. Back then, they might have just beat me up more. I don't know. So that's my first day of jiu-jitsu. The things I remember anyway. I could be wrong on a few things like that, but I do believe it was in 2002. And I got the ball rolling, and I really enjoyed it, and I kept coming back. What is your first day of jiu-jitsu like? What was that? Comment on this episode. If you have a topic you'd like me to cover, I'd love to hear it. For the next few in a row, I'll be covering my blue belt and purple and brown and black, kind of going down the line there. This was my white belt. So until then, whatever belt you're wearing, stay sweaty, my friends.